Welcome back to Mindset. I am Brad Barrett, as always, producer Jared and the lovely Kira. We are coming to you today to talk about real estate.
Real estate.
In 2026. Second week here. Why not?
Why not? Everybody wants it. Everyone needs it.
I know.
Few have it.
You have to.
You have it.
You have to
I
live
don't have
somewhere.
it.
You have to live somewhere. You have to have a roof over your head. So real estate, whether you have it, don't have it, invest in it, don't invest in it, in your portfolio or not, you're probably living somewhere. So real estate, whether or not you like it or not, has been a part of your life your whole life. We're going to talk about how the market looks from a financial advisor's perspective. We're going to talk about rates. We're going to talk about tips for buyers, for sellers, for agents. Stay tuned to the end here because we've got a couple things we're going to talk about that I think are really important that I think you should understand when it comes to real estate, especially if you are in the market, as they say, how rates are going to play into this. What I'm advising clients on as they're looking at real estate, both if they're just holding on it, looking at it, investing in new stuff. And we're going to talk about here, kind of starting here, is this understanding of, look, housing markets are pretty high. One of the main issues with housing market right now is that it's hard to get into.
Well, according to senior economist at Realtor.com,
Senior economist.
quote unquote, the real estate market is expected to move in a more buyer-friendly direction next year, leading to the most balanced housing market we've seen since the pandemic.
23 years in this business, I've read through these things for 23 years, from analyst reports, all this kind of stuff. I just find it funny how PC is it's more buyer friendly. And this is my best part, right? It's the most balanced housing market since 5 years ago. Not like some most balanced housing market
50
since
years.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, the pandemic. It was 5 years ago, bro. But
Hey,
it's true.
let us have some hope.
I'm not trying to burst the bubble here. I'm just saying
Pessimistic
it is
Polly
positive.
over here.
Yes, it's positive.
I will say, and we're going to talk about why in a second, but it's good to hear. It's felt like the real estate market has been there's been no hope in it the last few years because you had such a high in that COVID, and it just felt like everything's been going downhill.
And honestly, that's actually a great point. Something I've been talking about a lot with clients, and before I get into this market being a crash or just kind of a reset, that's actually a great point. So psychologically speaking, when you come off like a super optimistic time period, think about it. We were at 3%, sub 3% mortgage rates. Yeah, a lot of us.
I got a sub.
Yeah.
Congrats to you.
So think about that, right? Then all of a sudden you kind of balloon back up to right now we're hovering around 6, 6.1, somewhere between 6 and 7, depending on different things, right? You're kind of like, man, what gives? So it's, as you hear me say all the time, it's a contextual environment, right? And something I've been sharing all the time, and this is what gets me. And if you hear nothing else, hear this. There was a word being used through this time period of real estate, even to this senior analyst over at Realtor.com talking about the pandemic, right? Of artificial. Remember this word? Rates are artificially low.
Yeah.
Let me just pause there for a second. As an economics
Meaning
guy, I'm
they're
kind of like,
fake.
They're fake. They weren't real in the first place. So for us having the blues, why are you laughing at me?
Fake.
They're fake. And I try to educate and tell people about this because it's like, okay, I understand that you had the opportunity to get a house at that time at 3%, 3.25, maybe 2.7, whatever it was, right? But you weren't ready, and that's okay. Remember, they weren't real in the first place. They were artificial. They were suppressed by the amount of money we were pumping into the system when you decide as a country and as a world to shut down. Because if you look at the artificially low and you follow the 10-year and realize that we should never have been below 3%. We should have been hovering in the 4 to 4.5 range. When you look at those kind of environments, and you compare that to where we are now, it's less of a pill to swallow. You catch my drift? So it's kind of like, yes, it was real. You could access it at the time, but the reality was you should have been more in the mid 4s. And so the reality you're paying 6 right now is my old saying, as I always say, is date the rate, marry the price. Heard that before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I want to circle back for a second on the housing market for a second before we move on to buyers and sellers tips. Whether or not the housing market is in a crash or a reset or things like that, there's some predictions here in the real estate I want to bring up. Now, a couple weeks ago, we had some predictions going on, and we talked about this a little bit. But with Redfin, there was the great housing reset, as they say, will kind of be a years-long period of gradual increases in homes. So there's not from what we're seeing economically, fundamentally, we're not going to see like the floor fall out.
Wait, resetting what?
Well, they're saying is it's more of a reset than it is a crash, right? Resetting in the sense of like, people think in the housing prices are like when they drop rates or something's going on, like they're kind of thinking 08-esque, like things are just going to fall out to the floor in the real estate market.
Well, I feel like it's gone from like really good in COVID to then bad. So then people want like the rates to drop.
They're talking about like a reset in terms of like being
It's a
able to
balancing.
accessibility,
Gotcha.
just a general healthy
Nothing's too
functioning.
wonky and up and down. It's
Kind of, yeah.
more balanced.
And they're showing stats here that we have here. Existing home sales are low right now, so they're kind of, and that makes sense with the rates because again, that everyone has this shock and awe. Because remember, July 2 years ago, whatever it was, right? We had this like 9% inflation spike, and we raised rates. That year was an historical year in rise in interest rates, 2022, 2023. Okay, that's where we got to this point. Now we've come off the highs a little bit, but we're still kind of up there. And so the U.S. homes, the sales of them, right, adjusted for inflation, they typically move together in that regard. But actually, what they're showing here is for the first time ever, they're moving in opposite directions. So that's a good thing. Meaning, if inflation is still kind of staying persistent, they're not saying that houses is staying right next to it. So from my perspective, I feel like they're showing there's going to be a little bit better of a year this year.
Okay, trending up.
Fingers crossed.
If you are selling and moving, we're showing us price stability, which is good. There's increased buyer confidence as you start seeing rate. So, by the way, when I talk about sellers and buyers, they're kind of intertwined. So we're talking about sellers, but it's hard not to talk about buyers too, and vice versa. But like, if you're a seller right now, there is showing confidence in buyers right now with what's going on in the markets relative to rates, which is again one of the major indicators of people having the sentiment to buy. Right? That's a good thing. There is increased sales activity, which is good. It goes to comps. People sometimes think that's a negative thing, like, oh, well, they sold, then I won't be able to sell. No, it actually could potentially increase your comps or remove that from the listing. So my grandfather used to say in this comment, right, value is only what another man will pay for it, right? So if another man is basically saying they bought this house for $825, you would have listed, you can assume that your house is at least worth that. So comps is a big deal in real estate for sure. So I think having increased sales activity is a good deal.
I'll understand when I'm older.
Zillow is actually predicting for sellers out there, right, that a 1.2% rise in home sales, which is a good thing, and that total home sales will increase by 4.3%.
So sellers, although from what we talked about earlier, it sounds like it's a bit of more of a buyer's market, there is still hope for some sellers out there.
Agreed. All right, so let's talk about tips for sellers, right? I don't think I'm going to surprise anyone by saying this, but for agents out there I've talked to, anything like that, pricing your house is probably one of the single most important things you can do. And data reflects this, right? The longer you go out, they're showing in the actual sales listings, the reductions in the prices, or what agents will call price improvements.
Because this is formulaic, because
yes,
there are not so many people. When we were looking for a house, there was a house we really wanted. It was overpriced and we knew it. Everyone knew it.
Yeah.
We were like, hey, here's a lower bid. They rejected it. And we're like, all right, we'll wait. Well, they waited, never went, and it never sold.
Yeah.
Because they were just so stuck on that's what we think our value is. But there's an actual formula that you can kind of like use.
And I've sold a couple houses and we got really benefited on one and really hurt on one in terms of how we priced it. So it's an art, not a science. I will say that. It's part of it. But the longer you go out, if you didn't price accordingly, the higher the cut. And basically, it's showing is like 0 to 14 days. They're showing about a 5% cut, and that's even huge right there.
That's big for 2 weeks on the market.
For 2 weeks,
feels big.
You go out almost 30 days, it's 6. You go out almost 2 months, it's like 7. It just keeps going more and more. Over 6 months being listed on the market, they're showing almost a 14% cut. So best thing I can say for sellers is find the right agent, someone you can trust, price accordingly. Be careful thinking that, this is the price I know, and you validate it in yourself, and you got to look at comps, you got to talk with expertise like that. It does matter.
Emotional connections. My house is worth so much.
All that kind of stuff. Yeah. All right.
Good tips.
Let's flip over to the buyers. Buyers is almost the opposite of sellers, right? So for buyers, we're seeing in 2026, there's going to be improved affordability. There's going to be more choices, stronger position you're going to be in, largely due to some of the stuff we talked about, both earlier in the show as well as in sellers, with regards to interest rates. And so I think that's going to be a big issue when it comes to buyers for this year.
But buyers, I think 2026 is going to be really good for buyers. It's looking like everybody's predicting a good year for buying a house.
I don't want to sound negative, but I think it's going to be good. I agree with you, but I think it's going to be good in comparison to the backdrop of 25.
So also with high construction costs, both in financing and materials, and a stagnant labor market that has curbed the main reason people move jobs, fewer new homes are expected to hit the market. So there's some builder incentives such as interest rate buy downs that could become more common, especially in areas where affordability remain to be challenging.
This is a good thing to talk about because I've heard this that we have a couple of friends that are home builders, and they said that's just a bit tanking the last few years.
Well, so it costs so much to build a house nowadays.
Right.
Like the per square footage is insane.
But there's a lot of people that want to buy a new house.
Yeah.
That those are getting too expensive, and it brings up the debate of like, do you buy new or do you buy which is better to buy new or buy something older that you have to kind of.
Well, in real estate, it's always like location, right? I do buy into that theory. I do feel like getting in the community you want to get into, if you can, even if it's not the exact house size or whatever, location is a big part of it. I think secondary to that is what you can afford. Yeah. They go kind of hand in hand. So the question to me as an advisor, fiduciary wise, is like, yeah, I understand we might want new, but if new is like so out of range in your budget, you have to really come to grips with the fact that you're going to be sacrificing other areas in your life to do that if it's solely what you want to do, which is fine.
What do you want?
We're not looking to buy a house, so I don't really have a preference.
At all?
I love that.
Good for you.
Yeah, like, you know what?
So carefree.
Well, no, hold on.
I actually like renting.
Real quickly, I have said this before, and maybe I'm weird about this because it's also hypocritical a little bit because I am a homeowner, but I love someone who is going to say, like, I don't need to own a home. If I could and it made sense, fine.
Well, I feel like for our age group, there's a lot of benefits to it. I mean, like, we love this area, and if we stay here, great, but I feel like there's not really like a rush to get a house. But
the best thing you could do is to save your money as if you are.
No, for sure. And like, I think
you are.
We've watched a lot of our friends just like kind of fall into the like, oh, well, like step 1, get married, step 2, buy a house, step 3, you know what I mean?
Have kids and yeah.
Yeah. And like now they like kind of struggle to afford those payments, or then you have like HOAs that raise, and then like we're young, so we don't make tons of money that can cover those expenses. So I feel like it's just like a less stressful situation.
What you just described, but you don't realize it, is financial freedom, which everyone's looking for. Like my grandfather's still living. He's 96 years old. Love the man. Talk to him all the time.
Off.
Dude, Pa John is the man. He watches our show every week. I never shout out to him, but Pa John, we love you.
I like the grandpa name. Pa John.
Pa John?
My kids called Gigi Pa. Because great grandpa. He's awesome.
That's sweet.
But you know what? Think about it. He was born in 1929. So I get the luxury of talking to a guy who's seen a generation that we'll never see. Yeah. Now, my parents were born in the 50s. That's another generation. So real estate is one of those weird tie-in investments that's kind of like, it's fun to talk about, which is why I want to talk about it today, because it's such a conversational thing within families. Wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. You're not necessarily talking about index funds in your family, right? Yeah. You're not talking about ETFs, maybe not even talking about a stock per se, very rarely. But you know what? I almost can guarantee you've talked about, that house I grew up in.
Oh yeah.
Before I met your mom, I lived here. Like real estate's a common thread in the America lexicon, as they say.
So if you're buying out there, we found a couple interesting things about a couple good places, couple not so good places if you're looking for a new home.
These were interesting.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited.
Pop
about this
off,
part.
Kira, on this one. I'm listening on this one.
What are the 3 best cities to buy in right now?
Right now, Hartford, Connecticut, which is awesome.
Huh.
Never been.
Really? I feel like you would like
Hartford
it.
Whalers, good old hockey team.
Whalers.
Dude, the Whalers.
Rochester, New York.
Oh.
Also awesome.
Upstate, right?
Upstate. A little bit, but they're saying for people that even like work in the city, like it's still a commutable distance.
Interesting.
I think it's like 45 minutes to an hour by train.
Both cold, very cold areas for the record.
Very cold.
Interesting.
But cultural. Like, I like that the East Coast, it's been around a little bit longer.
Sure.
More character.
Yeah.
In that same train, East Coast, Charleston and Charlotte in the Carolinas.
Both love.
I find that interesting. It's all East Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just the top 3 cities.
Top 3, yeah.
Well, what are the worst?
The worst. Fort Myers, Florida, which
hurts my heart. I used to spend my summers. My mom.
Really?
Yeah, Kath and Greg.
Wait, sorry. Are these worse in affordability or worse in like where to live?
They are. So all of these are under like the
slowest market growth.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you buy it, you're not going to, your value is not going to.
Okay.
Yeah. But also
Versus,
like.
so the best you're going to get your money's worth.
Yeah.
Worse is you're not going to get your money.
So they're like fast growing markets or slow stopped.
Yeah. Fort Myers, Florida, it was down like almost 11% in value.
I have to think this was very hurricane related.
You know what?
It used to be very popular.
Could be. I could see that.
The most like, or the most common like state in the worst list was Florida. Like there was like 5 or 6 cities.
Yeah.
So another one is Stockton, California. And the last one I think is kind of shocking, but Austin, Texas. And I think, but I think also they had like a huge real estate boom.
They're probably coming off a high there.
So I think they're still continuing to build and like people are kind of like flatlining from moving there because there's also like, you know, we see a lot of people move to Nashville and Colorado. And so I feel like people are starting to find other cities to move in. So that market's probably just slowing down.
Austin did explode.
They did for a while
years
there.
back.
Which, by the way, I should say this. I mentioned this. Real estate's a funny thing, right? It's very, like I said, culturally, it's got something going on. But it's so, places move around.
Yeah.
Right. Destinations for different reasons move around, whether it's a company moving in, a municipality, or a state changing policy on certain things. Like it's always interchanging on some things. So it's, you know.
Yeah. And last thing on like buyers versus sellers. Right now, 1.5 million people across the U.S. are looking to buy homes, where currently about 1.9 to 2 million people are selling homes right now. So.
That's very apropos, I think, of what the stats that we're seeing. There's slightly 25% more houses available than there are people looking to buy. Now, what that stat doesn't say is of those 1.5 million that are looking to buy, how much, what are they looking for? What can they afford? All that stuff. And are they going to actually hit the bid on that?
Like it felt, the earlier predictions feel like buyer's market, but that number is not vastly different. It's not like 3 buyers or 3 houses for every buyer out there. So it's
the stat that you pulled that I thought was really cool, and it kind of echoes what I see a lot in my practice. 65 to 68% of Americans are homeowners, and 32 to 35% are renters. Now, I have my thoughts on that. I'm curious.
I thought it'd be closer, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. Because there's so many people renting in cities.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I would think that balances out because so much of our population are in cities.
Yeah.
But I guess not.
What are some myths that you guys have that you've thought of before that?
To me, the biggest myth, I truly thought it was about the interest rates.
Yeah.
That we currently have a high interest rate. Because I've not been in the housing market because I never really could afford it until like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So my whole
world is 10 years.
Yeah.
See, my whole world has been, as an economics guy and a finance guy, we have to look back historically.
Yeah.
In the 80s, mortgage rates reached highs. They were at 18.6, I think was the high. Yeah. It was like almost 19%. It was crazy in 81, early 81. Mind you, this is coming off of Carter, coming off of high inflation. This was pre-Reagan, really got strolling and trickle-down economics.
Recession and all that.
I mean, this myth that our rates are the highest they've ever been, things like that is just, that's the biggest myth ever.
Well, this is, you had said it dropped, we're just going to say 16.5 to around 9. Mm-hmm. It was about 10 years to get there. So what is that, 7.5%?
Yeah, off of what was the high, 18?
Yeah. And
so it's like a 9. That's like
9.
It's a 40, it's basically 50%, 45 to 50% reduction.
18. So now that took about 10 years. Now to go to 9 to our historical lows, and we'll just call it 3.
Yep.
There. So that's 6%.
Yep. It's about 50.
It took 30 years.
Yeah.
So that's how fast that rate. And basically the average is around, they're saying historical, what is this, 40-year average?
Yep.
Is around 7 to 8.
Correct.
So historically speaking,
we're very much in line. In fact, we're under.
We're under the average.
Yes.
So that's the big debunking for me.
And I think let's end on that, because I think if nothing else we spoke about with rates is that's a key factor here.
Yeah.
It's like I understand it's higher than 5 years ago, but you gotta zoom out further than that.
For sure.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Sweet.
Let's go buy houses.
2026 real estate, baby.
A second property.
Houses for everyone.
Houses for everybody.
Like Oprah.
Yeah.
You get a house. You get a house.
Yeah, you get a house. You get a house.
Easy.
Hey, everybody, thank you for watching us today. We're very thankful to our subscribers. If you're new to our channel, we come out with weekly episodes. We have some fun ones coming up here. We're going to talk about we've talked about some predictions. We've talked about real estate. We're going to be talking about wealth building, generational wealth, just a lot of fun stuff for the year. So stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to our channel. And as always, lead with love. It's going to be all right. See you guys next week. You gonna bring it today?
Oh, it has been brought.
Oh, it has been brought. You better bring it. Oh, it has been brought.
We'll see what happens.
Today
we're talking about investing in 2026 in real estate.
I'm in. Your energy level just really sucked me in. Just really made it for me. I'm so excited for this episode.